When someone tries to get under your skin, they usually don't come at you directly with kindness or logic. They come with jabs, sarcasm, a sharp tone, or even complete silence. And the entire point of that is to pull you into their storm. That's what I call the bait. Every time somebody pushes your buttons, it's bait. And here's the thing. When you take the bait, you give them exactly what they wanted. You let them prove to themselves that they have control over you. Now think about how many times you've walked away from an interaction and said to yourself, "Man, I wish I hadn't reacted like that. I wish I'd kept my cool." The reason you regret it is because you know, deep down, you gave your peace away to somebody who didn't deserve it. The truth is, protecting your peace doesn't mean you ignore people. It doesn't mean you let them walk all over you. It means you choose not to play their game. If they want drama, let them keep it. If they want to fight, let them shadow box alone. You don't have to step into every ring someone invites you into. The moment you understand that, you start living on a whole new level of control. People can't mess with you if they can't move you. They can't win if you're not playing. I want you to picture this. Someone throws an insult at you. It's sharp, it's personal, maybe it's even unfair. Now, you've got two choices in that split second. You can fire back with equal energy, or you can hold still, let it bounce off, and move on. Most people think the strong move is to clap back, to put that person in their place. But strength isn't found in being the loudest, it's found in being unshaken. It takes far more power to stand steady, calm, and untouched by what was meant to rattle you. Now, don't misunderstand me. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you never speak up, and it doesn't mean you suppress how you feel. What it means is, you refuse to let emotions make the first move. You're not operating from reaction, you're operating from intention. That way, when you do speak, it's not to defend your ego, it's to protect your values, and there's a massive difference in those two responses. One comes from insecurity, the other comes from authority. Think about the people you respect the most. It's not the ones who explode at every little thing. It's the ones who can sit in tension, who can handle pressure, who can listen to chaos and still be composed. That's the kind of control you build when you stop taking the bait. People might try to provoke you, but when they see you won't budge, they eventually stop wasting their energy. You've trained them, without saying a word, that you're not someone they can rattle. And in the long run, that commands far more respect than snapping back ever could. There's also another layer here. When you choose not to react, you save yourself from the cycle of regret. You never have to apologize for overreacting. You never have to backpedal on words you wish you hadn't said. You don't have to repair damage that came out of a heated moment. That's what I mean when I say you're protecting your peace. It's not just about that one argument, it's about the ripple effects you prevent down the road. You're saving yourself hours, days, sometimes years of conflict that could have been avoided just by choosing stillness in the moment. The reason most people lose control so quickly is because they're operating on pure emotion. Someone says something slick, your chest tightens, your face gets hot, and before you even think, the words are already out of your mouth. That's reacting. It's raw, it's unfiltered, and most of the time, it makes things worse. The problem is, when you let your emotions run the show, you've already given away control. You're no longer leading the moment, you're being led by it, and that's where everything unravels. Now, the shift happens when you move from emotion to observation. Instead of immediately taking what someone says and making it about you, slow down and ask yourself, what's really going on here? Why are they acting this way? That single pause to observe instead of absorb changes everything. Because here's the truth, most of the time, people's behavior has nothing to do with you. Their tone, their anger, their passive-aggressive comments, it's usually a reflection of something they're carrying, not something you caused. When you learn to observe, you create a buffer between their storm and your response. You're not dodging responsibility, you're simply refusing to take on what isn't yours. Let's say someone cuts you off in traffic and flips you off. You could explode, lean on the horn, yell out the window, and carry that frustration into the rest of your day. Or you could observe the situation and say to yourself, that person's obviously in a rush, maybe they're stressed, maybe something's going on, and then you move on. Same event, two completely different outcomes. The difference is observation, and I get it. It's not easy. Observation requires discipline. It's not natural to step back when your body wants to step forward and react. But that's the muscle you have to build. The more you practice it, the stronger you get at it. And what's wild is, once you master observation, people's words don't cut as deep anymore. They don't have the same effect because you've trained yourself to separate their behavior from your identity. Here's something important to remember. Observation doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. What it means is you refuse to let their behavior dictate your inner world. You're aware, you see it for what it is, and then you choose the most effective response, not the fastest one. That's the difference between being controlled by the moment and controlling the moment. Imagine you're in a heated conversation with someone who's raising their voice. If you let emotion lead, you're going to raise yours too, and suddenly you're in a shouting match. But if you shift into observation, you'll notice things like their body language, the words they're choosing, the reason behind their tone. You'll realize, this isn't really about me. This is about them needing to be heard. And in that realization, you've gained the upper hand because you can stay calm, choose your words carefully, and often, you end up diffusing the whole thing just by not matching their energy. When you live from observation, you start to see patterns. You notice that certain people repeat the same behaviors, the same outbursts, the same negativity. And instead of letting it pull you in every time, you learn to predict it, expect it, and prepare for it. That's when you stop being surprised and you start being strategic. Now you're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. So the next time you feel yourself heating up, stop and observe. Don't just react. Watch, notice, and ask yourself what's really happening. Because when you move from emotion to observation, you don't just control the moment, you control yourself, and that's where the real power is. Your tone is one of the most powerful tools you have, and most people don't even realize it. The words you say matter, but the way you say them, that's what really carries weight. Think about it. You could say the same sentence in a calm, steady tone, and it comes across as confident and controlled. Say it with a sharp, rushed tone, and suddenly it feels defensive or hostile. Tone is like the thermostat in any room. It sets the temperature, and people adjust themselves to it without even realizing. The mistake so many people make is letting their tone match the chaos around them. Someone comes at them loud, they get louder. Someone gets sharp, they get sharper. That's how arguments escalate and nobody wins. But when you choose to control your tone, you set the pace. You become the anchor in the room. Even if emotions are high, your calm voice becomes the signal that says, "We're not going to lose control here." That alone can completely shift the direction of a conversation. It's not about being monotone or emotionless. It's about being intentional. A calm tone doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough to not let the message get lost in noise. People can ignore your words, but they feel your tone. And the crazy thing is, they'll remember how your tone made them feel long after they forget the exact words you used. That's influence. That's presence. Think about times when you've been in conflict and the other person stayed calm. It almost throws you off balance, doesn't it? You expect them to match your energy, and when they don't, it forces you to reconsider your own. That's the quiet power of tone. You don't have to demand control. You earn it just by staying grounded. And on the flip side, when you lose your tone, you lose your authority. You could be making the best point in the world, but if your delivery is harsh and reactive, people stop listening to your message and start reacting to your energy. Now, controlling your tone isn't just for arguments. It applies in leadership, in relationships, in everyday conversations. When you walk into a stressful situation and your tone communicates steadiness, people automatically feel safer, calmer, more open. They trust you more. Your words carry more weight because your delivery tells them you're in control. That's the kind of presence that changes how people experience you, not just what they hear from you. Here's the challenge. Controlling your tone takes practice, because your tone usually reflects what's going on inside. If you're angry, rushed, stressed, it comes out in your voice. So it's not just about managing your sound, it's about managing your state. That's why taking a breath before you speak is so powerful. It slows your pace, softens your tone, and gives your words more clarity. Sometimes the most important part of what you say isn't the sentence itself. It's the pause and the calmness that frame it. And don't underestimate how much people mirror you. If you stay calm, more often than not, others will follow. Your tone sets the rhythm, and people unconsciously match it. That's how you influence without force. You don't have to demand respect. You create an environment where respect is the natural response. One of the most underestimated skills you can develop is learning how to pause. We live in a world that rewards speed. Quick replies, instant reactions, fast comebacks. That's what people are used to. But the truth is, speed is what gets most of us into trouble. We fire back before we think. We let our emotions sprint ahead of our reason, and then we're left cleaning up the mess. The pause is the opposite of that. The pause is restraint, it's composure, it's choosing power over impulse. Think about the last time you said something in the heat of the moment and wished you could take it back. It probably wasn't because you didn't know better. It was because you didn't pause. That gap between what's said to you and what comes out of your mouth is where all your control lies. Without that gap, you're just reacting. With it, you're choosing, and choice is where your influence grows. What makes the pause so powerful is that it does more than just protect you from regret. It also changes how people hear you. When you take a second before you respond, it signals confidence. It says, I'm not rushed. I'm not rattled. I'm considering my words carefully. That instantly makes what you say more valuable because people know it's not coming from a place of impulse. It's coming from a place of intention. Silence, even for a few seconds, can command more attention than 1,000 words spoken too fast. Pausing also disarms tension. When someone comes at you heated, they expect fire back. That's the script most people are used to, anger meeting anger. But when you pause, when you hold your ground without rushing to react, it breaks the script. It forces them to face their own energy without yours fueling it. And often, that's all it takes to lower the temperature in a conversation. The pause doesn't just apply to conflict either. It applies to decision making, to leadership, to relationships. Too many people feel pressured to give instant answers, to commit on the spot, to respond immediately. But rushing is rarely wise. A pause gives you time to process, to ask yourself, is this aligned with my values? Is this worth my energy? Is this the right time? Most of the mistakes people regret don't come from thinking too long. They come from not thinking long enough. And let's be clear, the pause doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean you're frozen or unsure. It means you're disciplined. It means you've trained yourself not to be a puppet pulled by every string that comes your way. That's not hesitation, that's control, and people respect that far more than a quick, emotional outburst. It takes courage to hold still in the middle of pressure. It takes strength to let a few seconds of silence hang in the air when your pride is begging you to clap back. But those few seconds often save you hours, days, even years of unnecessary conflict. Because once words are spoken, you can't pull them back. Once actions are taken in anger, you can't undo them. But if you build the habit of pausing, you prevent damage before it even happens. So when the pressure is on and everything in you wants to react, stop, breathe, wait just long enough to let your reason catch up to your emotions. because in that pause, you'll find the difference between reacting and responding, and that difference is everything. One of the fastest ways to lose control in life is trying to fight every single battle that comes your way. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every insult deserves your energy. Not every challenge is worth your time. But most of us get trapped in the mindset that if someone comes at us, we have to meet them head on, and what ends up happening, we drain ourselves. We spend our days exhausted, frustrated, and distracted because we've poured energy into arguments that never even mattered. Control isn't about responding to everything. It's about knowing what's worth responding to. There's a certain strength in walking away. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're scared. It means you're disciplined enough to protect your energy. When you stop trying to win every battle, you start winning the war for your peace, your focus, and your sanity. And the truth is, most of the battles people invite you into are nothing more than distractions. They're tests, bait, little fires designed to pull you out of your calm. If you step into every one of them, you'll spend your life putting out. There are moments where silence would equal weakness. But the key is learning to tell the difference. Ask yourself, if I engage here, what do I gain? What do I lose? Does this situation move me closer to the person I want to be, or does it pull me further away? Those questions will save you from wasting energy on things that don't deserve your attention. Most people think control is about domination, about winning arguments, proving points, being louder than the other person. But control isn't about domination, it's about direction. Where are you directing your energy? Where are you directing your focus? Because if you're spending ignored, the problem with reacting is that it drains you. It pulls you into someone else's storm, and once you're in it, you're no longer steering your own ship. You get tossed around by their moods, their words, their actions. And before you know it, your energy is spent, your peace is gone, and your focus has shifted to things that don't even matter. That's what happens when you let yourself get caught in reaction. You hand over your power. But when you learn to redirect your energy, everything changes. Instead of wasting it on drama, you invest it into solutions, growth, and things that actually move you forward. Every situation that tests you comes with a choice. You can feed the fire, or you can build something better with that same energy. When someone tries to provoke you, it's easy to react. But what if you used that moment as fuel to improve yourself? What if instead of matching their negativity, you poured that energy into becoming sharper, calmer, more disciplined? That's how you win without fighting. You don't meet people at the level they drag you to. You rise above and stay focused on what actually matters. Think about it this way. If you had a limited budget of energy every single day, would you spend it on petty arguments, or would you spend it on building the life you actually want? Because whether you realize it or not, that's the choice you're making. Every time you react, you're spending energy on someone else's agenda. Every time you stay composed and redirect, you're investing in your own. That shift in perspective is what separates people who feel drained all the time from people who move with purpose. Redirecting energy doesn't mean you ignore problems. It doesn't mean you stay silent when something needs to be addressed. It means you're strategic. You decide, this is worth my voice, this is worth my effort, and this is worth my time. And when it's not, you let it go, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom, because you understand that every ounce of energy you give away is energy you'll never get back. You can't waste it on proving points that don't matter or on people who aren't willing to grow. And here's the beauty of it. When you consistently redirect your energy towards solutions instead of reactions, you start to change your entire environment. People notice that you're not easily rattled. They notice that you don't get pulled into gossip, petty arguments, or unnecessary drama, and that creates a ripple effect. Suddenly, people approach you differently. They bring you solutions instead of problems, respect instead of tension. Because you've made it clear through your actions where your energy goes and where it doesn't. It's not about being perfect. You're going to have moments where you slip, where you react faster than you should. That's human, but the goal isn't perfection. The goal is direction. As long as you're more intentional today than you were yesterday, you're moving in the right direction. Every time you redirect instead of react, you build strength. Every time you choose growth over drama, you reinforce control. And over time, that becomes who you are.